All right, I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is review of the minutes from last week.
And then we got it too, right?
Marcellus?
Yeah.
Yeah. On line 86 and several lines after that, Marcellus. Is
MARCALUS, Marcellus.
Hold on, let me get to
that?
86
Is it MARCA?
Yeah.
Okay.
LUS. I'm actually just looking it up here now.
Oh, thank you, Tammy, because I didn't have a chance, but I may
That's
have
okay.
something in
That's
my
okay.
files. MAR.
CALUS. It's also line 94,
Yeah,
Yeah.
99, and 111.
Okay.
perfect.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 20th as amended.
Second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye. Perfect. And I'll make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes of the 20th.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you go. All right, next thing on the agenda is the South Peak development discussion. And this is from 2 weeks ago, I think. We got a letter from the planning board. Advising us to consider the square footage and number of bedrooms that were part of, that were approved as part of the master plan. And what the pleasure is on that. See that? And I got it still on my desk because I was just looking at it. What's that? Oh, okay. Thank you. I don't have a copy of that.
Jim's letter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, is it, oh, wait, is it still in here?
I'm looking to see it. Thank you, Gobi.
Wait a minute,
Copy of Jim's letter.
thank you. I got it. I knew I had it, I was just reading it at home. Good. Yep. So I read the letter at the last, the last time we discussed it, which I believe was 2 weeks ago. The issues that the planning board has pointed out and asking us to address is, number one, the lack of firefighting water available in certain sections of South Peak. Secondly, that the master plan application and approval states that a home's total building square footage shall range from 2,500 to 6,000 square feet. And they're asking, and they're also pointing out that that's in the Architectural Review Board guidelines, and they're asking us to enforce that, and it gives the definition of building square footage as is included in both the application and the Architectural Review Board guidelines. And then points out that the number of bedrooms that was utilized by the developer's engineer for residential use in South Peak was between 1.75 and 4. And they're asking us to communicate with the town staff regarding the importance of future applications for construction in South Peak to comply with the approved size requirements for residential structures. And this has also been, this letter from the planning board has also already been sent to the architectural review board. So when we discussed this last time, we were looking at what we wanted, what our position wanted to be as far as instructing town staff to change, if anything, and looking at the applications that come in for South Peak regarding, again, firefighting capabilities, square footage, and number of bedrooms. Anyone want to comment or make a proposal of what we do?
One of the issues, Mr. Chairman, is that all of these building designs also have to go before an architectural review board, is that correct? The homeowner's architectural review board?
Yes, but just to keep it separate, that is their process as part of their subdivision. That's not a requirement of the planning board, and it's nothing that's enforceable by the town.
But they have their own guidelines, I assume, that fall within the parameters that were originally submitted to the planning board and on the master plan.
That is correct.
And so the last paragraph there, last sentence in addition, based on the engineering basis of design, the number of bedrooms was utilized. Was that a mandate, or is that just a suggestion in how they did their calculation?
As I understand it, it was the second of what you said. It was just the calculation, the number that they used to calculate the basis of design, and that's for water and sewer for that development. So although the basis of design was part of the application and approval, I'm not convinced that 1.75 to 4 bedroom range is a hard enforceable
That is a
number.
mandate.
Nor do I know if it's really in the best interest of the town to limit that. And I know that there's people who have said that, you know, because it was part of the design, it should be enforced because of the overall water usage and sewer usage. But again, I don't know if that was a hard, fast number that we really have a right to. And maybe we want to get legal opinion on this, but I guess I'm not sure if that's our biggest problem right now.
Is this a planning board issue?
It's a planning board issue, and they've looked at it, and their suggestion and their recommendation is that because we are the authority that regulates these building permits, that they wanted us to be aware of these and to instruct our staff accordingly to deal with applications coming in. So in other words, when an application comes in, if it's over 6,000 square feet or over 4 bedrooms, do we deny it?
Why would you do that?
If it's in the high pressure zone.
No, this is,
Matter.
this
Well,
is
it would-
all
that's right,
of,
it would be the
this
whole
is all of
development.
South Peak. And they're saying, the planning board is saying that this is what they applied for, this is what was approved, and then therefore, this is what we should be giving building permits for. Houses under 6,000 square feet with 4 or less bedrooms.
We know that there are houses over there that have, some cases, I'm told, 6 or 8. Is that correct, Ron?
This one I just looked up has 6,783 square feet of living space and 11 bedrooms.
How many
Just
bedrooms? Dan?
11,
11.
and I'm just looking on the property cards, that's all.
Mhm.
So this one is 10 bedrooms. It's 3,288 square feet.
And just a reminder that the assessors use a different definition of building square footage. The application and architectural review guidelines for South Peak had a specific definition of building square footage that I believe is what's enforceable and what we should be discussing, not the,
So is the assessors more or less?
usually it's more.
More.
So as defined in what was approved by the planning board for this development, building square footage is the sum of all gross horizontal areas of all floors of a building measured from the exterior face of the walls of heated, finished space, including but not limited to stairways, counted on the main level only, lofts, halls, habitable attics, closets, storage, mechanical, and utility areas. Garages and unfinished space in basements are excluded.
I remember reading that at the last meeting.
Well, going back to, I think, the ninth grade basic math, square footage was always length times width. Cubic feet is length, width, height. So basically what I see here is we're talking square footage. I don't see anything that differs from a simple calculation, except that, you know, it says storage and mechanical utility, storage, mechanical and utility areas are counted in the gross square footage. But yet typically, if you go to the next sentence, that's unfinished space. Typically, it's unfinished space, you know what I'm saying? It's in the basement in a area that's concrete or cinder.
I would argue that fact in these houses.
Uh,
I would argue that in this specific neighborhood.
that-
I bet that most of the basements are finished.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying the mechanical rooms.
Gotcha,
You know,
gotcha.
usually they're outside of the finished space.
Yeah, I would,
So I
okay.
don't know why originally they were included in counting in, but maybe again, if that's the definition that the assessors used, that's another issue.
I guess I would read this as saying that if the mechanical and utility areas were not in the basement, that they would be counted in the square footage. In other
There
words,
may
if
be a
you,
reason why they count them anyway. I mean, we are not assessors. And maybe there's a reason that they count them as square footage, whether they're in the basement or not. Especially in New Hampshire, you cannot live in a house that doesn't have a heater. So your mechanical rooms are an essential part. There's got to be a reason why it's counted.
Be heated space.
Well, a heated garage would also be heated space, but those aren't counted, whether they're heated or not.
right, this specifically says that garages are not counted and unfinished space in basements are excluded. I would agree with Jack that a
A mechanical
mechanical
room is
room
finished.
in the basement is typically not finished.
Well, I'd say if it's full of mechanical equipment, that's finished, it's doing its job.
You're not talking a lot of square footage.
No,
That's the thing.
So
I
that's
would
kinda-
say it's counted. I mean, it's doing the job that it was designed to do. A finished bedroom is a finished bedroom to sleep in, a finished mechanical room is a finished room to have that mechanical stuff in it. There's a reason why it's counted. You're not living in a bathroom either, but those are counted because they're doing its job,
Supports
supports the house.
having.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Again, I'm not an assessor, but that's my argument.
And again, we're not coming up with a definition that's enforceable for an
Right.
assessor.
Agreed.
We're looking at what the approved language is and how we ask our staff to interpret that. Go ahead, Ron.
So are all the phases approved of South Peak, or do they still have more to come in for?
They still have more to come in for.
So the entire infrastructure was phased, the size of the pipes, sewer lines, force mains, were all based on testimony from their engineer on the basis of design, what a single family home could be, what the condos will be, and what the South Mountain area would be developed up to. So at some point, if they continue to build larger homes, then they get to this next phase, how are you gonna figure out what they have left? because unless they're gonna upgrade the infrastructure, the entire project, that site plan approval based on phases, a certain size piping to support what they were saying they were gonna put in there. I don't know how you balance that.
I don't know the answer to that, but I guess offhand, I would say that that's the developer's
It wouldn't be a
problem.
problem, it would be the town's problem because we didn't
No,
adhere to.
if there's a sewer pipe on such and such a road up there that cannot handle the load they're proposing to put in it,
Still on that, not us, because,
yeah, I mean, that's, you'll have to go back and either
okay, that's just.
change
know
the
where it's going.
design or dig it up and put a bigger one in, or somehow solve that problem. It's within that development. That's how I look at it.
It's part of the POS system.
Right, exactly. It's part of that privately operated system. Well, I mean, I'll throw out a suggestion. I think that the building square footage with this definition is fairly clear. And that's what the town staff should be enforcing when a building permit comes in. I think the number of bedrooms is a design number, and I understand people's opinions who want us to enforce that. I think we're just inviting more litigation if we do that. And, unless someone can find a hard and fast statement that says that was all that was approved, as opposed to that design based on those numbers were approved. Or if we want to go out and get a legal opinion on it. But I just don't see at this point that that's worth enforcing. The other reason for that is we're going to have 6,000 square foot homes that have offices, libraries,
Playrooms.
gyms, playrooms, and people are going to be sleeping in them, but they're not going to be counted as bedrooms just to get around.
And we're not gonna get
We're not going to get the bedroom
Fees,
tax.
yeah.
The assessors aren't going to count it as a bedroom.
I agree.
I just don't think it's good for the development. I don't think it's good for the town. And then as far as the water pressure and volume that are in the hydrants up there, I think that's an ongoing issue that we're dealing with. And I'm not sure if that'll be solved by the developer or
Needs
a
to be.
judge.
Well, the firefighting capability up there is the responsibility of the boards, not the town.
In the high pressure zone.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah. So
And that's where the problem, most.
that's
of the
gonna have
problem
to
is.
be solved by the owners.
Any discussion on that?
No, because I agree.
All right, and I know that
Okay,
we've opened it up for discussion the last time, and I intend to do that again. Go ahead, Butch.
I just, for the record, and actually Ron's probably want to chime in on this, just for this, the record of this meeting should indicate that there's still a life safety issue. So even if we're approving those, the town going forward is approving those, if they meet all the design criteria that in that letter that the board put forward, which is absolutely correct. Okay, however, everyone should know, whether it's a person buying one of those homes, right, the life safety code and the fire chief have a lot to say. So that needs to be a part of any decision you put out. Instructions to staff going forward is that's New Hampshire NFPA 101 and Life Safety 101 are covered. And Ron can more than adequately explain that. So it's not a ticket to converting gyms and exercise rooms and sauna, whatever else, into sleeping areas he has all the right in the world, and I would hope that he would make sure, especially basements need to be direct access to the outdoors. And a lot of them homes, those basements are 2 stories down, story and a half. And we had one incident where they had to, I believe, had to cut concrete wall and make a direct access to the outside. So you can't trump that. That's anywhere in town. That's not just South Peak. So Ron, you want to add in? I just think that should be in the minutes of this meeting.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Paul.
You muted.
Paul, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I have several things about comments on this. First of all, the basis of design was included in the phase 2 master plan document for Centex. If you look at the basis of design on the bottom, you'll see where it was included in their basis of design in their phase 2 master plan. Also, an assessor's definition of a bedroom says it has to have a closet. Furthermore, in the application for the land use permit, there is a form they fill out in the application that says number of bedrooms, and they sign off on it. And they swear an affidavit that said it's complete and that it's right. So if they go back on that, then they have a problem as well. The thing that one of the things we can do is change the land use compliance wording to include language that Ron has the ability of the inspection of a property upon information of non-compliance can be inspected by the code enforcement officer. We also can include language for penalties and fines if they have non-conformance in regards to that. So we could also change that, which would give the town some ability to be able to inspect. In the Lincoln subdivision regulations, as far as the fire hydrants goes, it states that all subdivisions shall include fire hydrants to provide for proposed development. And so what they have is in violation of the subdivision regulations. So, I mean, I think you really have a whole lot of information here that I don't know why you're kind of moving it to the right side or left side, but I mean, the planning board can do what it needs to do, but there's a lot of, I mean, in RSA 674-36, one of the subdivision regulations under section A, it says provide against such scattered premature subdivisions of land as would involve danger or injury or prospective or prosperity by reason of the lack of water supply. And one of the other things is fire protection. So, I mean, there's a lot of things here that are showing that what's going on at South Peak is not correct as far as the number of bedrooms. I'm in agreement with OJ as far as the definition of square footage. It was approved with that definition of square footage, and that's the definition we have to use. However, it was also approved with the basis of design. And in that regard, I don't think you should be letting that go. You can't just say, okay, we're gonna cherry pick it. The square footage designation is okay, but the basis of design is not. So, I mean, I think you have to enforce both. And if we don't, we're going to be putting firemen and people who are at risk in those rooms that are not declared as bedrooms at risk. And I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think the town should be doing that. And I think the planning board discussed this at length, and that's why they put this letter out. Thank you.
Yep. And I guess I can see your point, Paul, but again, if there's a house that has a library, a gym, and an office, I don't know if Ron has the ability or the authority to require them to have exterior access and all of that, versus if they come out right and say, this is gonna be a bedroom, it actually makes it safer. So I'm not sure if that number 4 bedrooms is making it safer, or is it making it less safe because people are just calling it different things, but then letting people sleep in there? So,
Well, I think that only Ron can speak to this, but I would imagine that whether they're, if they put a room, an extra room, and call it a library or a workout gym, and they end up with a bedroom in there, and Ron's guys end up going in the fire, trying to save somebody in that library or gym, they could themselves perish. And that to me is unacceptable by the town. And that's why you need to be able to change the land use plan ordinance certificate or the rules to say that Ron has the ability to go in and to inspect it with it at any time, and that there, and then put include language in there for penalties. And the penalties should be very stiff, so that when they decide, oh, let's just put a library in here, let's just put a gym in there, they should know that if in fact they do convert it to a bedroom, it may cost them $15,000 if the fire chief goes in there and finds out that it's a bedroom. And they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. You put the fines and penalties up so high that, you know, look, if they want to take that kind of a chance and Ron goes in and someone says, you know what, they get 18 bedrooms in that house, you can then go in and check it. And we're all supposed to be fair in our assessment. And if someone's not being fair in their assessment of bedrooms versus everything else, then and they get caught doing it, then I guess you got to pay the freight. I mean, it's not right. It's not right to send a fireman into some place and say, oh, guess what? There's bedrooms in there. We found 4 people. I can't imagine sending the fire department in a building like that.
That's why it's gonna be an argument, but if you build your 4, I'm sorry, you build your 4 bedrooms upstairs and then you put in the basement, you put your gym and your playroom and your office and your library. Now, none of those need a second means of egress, another way out, only the one. So then everybody, you get your land use permit, you have your house, and now we're clearing out the office and throwing 4 or 5 sets of bunk beds in there, and you've still only got one means of egress. However, if we say, fine, put your 4 bedrooms upstairs, make your 4 bedrooms in the basement, but they're bedrooms, there needs to be a second means of egress. So then when our firemen go down there to haul people out, they've got another way out.
And Tammy, I'm not,
On the side of
I'm not-
yeah.
I'm not arguing with you, but
Mhm.
I will also say that whether it's a gym or an office or something else downstairs, it still needs an egress. And I would bet if Ron will comment on this, I bet Ron would tell you that it doesn't matter what it's called, it still needs a way, an egress out of there. So I don't know that the egress discussion is real. I'd like to hear from Ron about that. If Ron says you can be 3 stories below and not have a way of egress, I'd be surprised, but I'd like to hear that from him.
Is that any finished space has to have a second means of egress?
Second means of escape.
Okay,
Usually it's a bulkhead, build
Sure.
an interior stairwell. But if you want to finish a basement, put bedrooms in, you need the appropriate size window for each bedroom, with window well, whatever.
oh, right, an additional,
Yeah.
and a second means of egress.
Yeah. But you
Right.
need- Yeah, you need
Gotcha.
a set, if it's just a recreation room in the basement, you need a second means of escape.
Without
Usually-
without the windows, okay.
You can't even on a single story house, if I'm correct, Ron, not have a second means to be able, like the window has to be a certain size in order for people to be able to get out.
Right.
You can't just have a small window in the bedroom, because if there's no other way to get out of it, they have to have an opportunity to do that. So the code really protects against that. And I think that, you know, we need to protect Lincoln and we need to protect the fire department and to say the least about water and sewer usage too. So that we're talking about maybe not being able to account for, you know, so someone says it's only 4 and I hear you, Tammy, and they put 8 in there, and how are you gonna account for it anyway? How are you gonna account for it anyway? The only way to account for it is say, Ron can come in upon well-founded information and, or a complaint and say, this is it. And if you applied for 4 in your land use permit and you've got 8, guess what? It's $15,000 a bedroom for each bedroom. And I would guess most people wouldn't do that.
What do you do, make it a condition on your planning board that you give him the key to the place when you give the approval to build it? Huh? Oh,
What's that?
I said, what do you do, make it a condition in the planning board that you give Ron a key when you get your building permit? And he can win anytime he wants?
No, sir, you don't need, no, Ron doesn't need a key. All Ron needs is, all we have to do is change the land use permit to say that Ron has the ability to be able to go in and check it upon well-founded information. And there are other ordinances that we have to say that.
Well,
That's
yeah,
all.
anybody can make that up so he can win. I mean, I think you get yourself in a little deep here.
I don't.
Right.
I mean,
Is-
you just
is,
take,
um,
just take, look,
Huh?
just take a look, take a look at what's there now.
What's
and-
where?
What's the South Peak now? There's a number of houses that have 8 and 10 bedrooms, that 8 and 10 bedrooms or more, and they're not in compliance with the basis of design. What's that tell you? Do you think we'll stop doing that just because, you know?
What does it tell us?
Okay, wait, Jeff,
Just a question, Ron. Do you issue an occupancy permit when construction is completed?
When we get all the construction control affidavits submitted to Carol, she reviews it, make sure she has all the correct paperwork, then I schedule a inspection.
When the building is complete? So at that given time, like to answer Mr. Khan's question or concern, major concern, that's the time that you inspect to see whether there's a library, whether there's bedrooms, whether.
Yeah, we do
gyms.
we do a physical count.
Okay, so there's a physical count at that given time, so that should indicate to us what, what corresponds with the tax card that's made out for that building.
But a lot of times they aren't fully furnished yet. When I go.
I don't care about the furniture, I mean, they can say it's gonna be a library and they put a bedroom in there, we know that.
That's right.
I'm not asking you to be a
Yeah.
IKEA
No, I just
design
want
guy
to
or
be
anything like
transparent
that.
here, that a lot of times they aren't fully furnished when I can.
Right. No, I understand.
and what kind of authority do you have to go into a residential building? A single-family residential building after they have a permit?
Well, sometimes we get called to them if they have a fire alarm activation,
No, but I mean,
But any
I'm,
other time.
yeah.
If I came to you and said, I went to a dinner at OJ's house, and he's got 14 bedrooms out back with 23 beds in each one. Does that give you the authority to go knock on his door and say, can I look at these 14 bedrooms?
I would go and ask him,
You would ask.
I would,
And I tell you to get off my property, now what?
Yeah, and then you could get an administrative warrant.
Whoops,
Administrative warrant.
so I would evaluate the information I get. If I feel it's pretty credible, then I could apply for an administrative warrant to search the premise.
okay,
I would, before I went that distance, I would take it into account the credibility of what I'm being told, because I've been told things before,
Mhm.
and it's a neighbor dispute, and
Gotcha.
sometimes it's not all that credible. So, everybody has rights, you can't trespass, but during the permitting process, I'm granted permission to do inspections. But once that is closed and a land use permit, land use compliance certificate is issued, that permission goes away, and then it would have to be a complaint or credible information that someone has altered that structure, and it needs
Gotcha.
to be inspected.
How many, if any, administrative warrants have you received since you've been fire chief?
I haven't had to do one yet. Usually people are pretty good.
Has anybody ever said, no, you're not coming in? No.
Never been to my house, have you?
I haven't asked.
Nice down there.
Bulletproof vest.
It's okay.
But there are means, but you got to evaluate the information.
Right.
You don't want to.
Yeah,
You have
no,
a
I
plan for
understand.
The fire at South Peak. Down the bottom hydrant, run some hose out and fight it, right?
Yep.
What are you gonna do up the landing?
Up the landing, and
Yeah.
we're gonna utilize cisterns, tanker shuttle.
Yeah, 10,000 gallons, and then you're in trouble.
Well,
Correct.
I've got a plan to get tankers coming.
Isn't there a requirement been made by the developer down there to put residential
Yeah,
sprinkler
every
system?
home going forward will have a 13D sprinkler
13D.
system installed.
And this is the landing now.
The
Yeah.
landing.
We jumped developments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
All right, as far as the firefighting goes, first of all, we're not issuing building permits in the high pressure zone anymore
right.
to prevent further problems up there. Is it fair to say that there is maybe marginal, but sufficient enough water in South Peak in the non-high pressure zone areas?
Along the South Peak Road area, the area is below 950.
The area below the two PRVs?
Yep.
Okay. So it's just the high pressure zone where the problem is. And there are existing homes up there, 22,
22.
with no more to be built.
There's two currently, well, one's being finished, another one under construction. They were permitted prior to all this.
Right.
So soon to be 24.
So 24.
No, they were counted in.
Oh, in
They're
the
counted in
22?
that
They were
22,
counted in
okay.
Because
Okay.
they're already permitted.
Okay.
Didn't you say, Ron, at one of the meetings that you ran a test up there
That heavy base camp.
at the Perry Base Camp
Yeah, well, and on the lower road too.
and the lower road? And what were the results of that test?
Lower road, we set off multiple alarms at the water treatment plant. We got water, but we set off alarms. It was just making their finishing pumps go all over the place because it's kind of like the main line coming out of the finishing into the main pressure zone.
Mhm.
So drawing off that line made the VFDs ramp up and slow down the pumps erratically, and that caused alarms simulating like a water main break or something when they ramp up
Oh,
that quick.
gotcha.
And was there enough water coming out at the source to
I
fight a
didn't- Well,
fire?
we didn't do a flow, but, you know, they
did.
moved a fair amount of water. So, Penny Base Camp, we'd either have to choose because it's supposed to be in the high pressure zone and it's not, it's in the gravity, but we'd have to choose between a 2.5 inch line or a 2.5 inch line or a monitor. Of course, Penny Base Camp gets rocking, that's kind of less than 10, but it's very limited in that high pressure zone. That's still in the gravity.
It's still in the gravity,
Right.
but it's in the high pressure zone. So,
But if it was on the pump system, I would get just what the pumps put out if it was on the pump system. So,
well, again, I would throw out that we instruct the staff to enforce the building square footage. We can put in language about, we should put in language about fire and life safety rules will still apply, although whether we put it in an occupancy permit or not, those rules apply.
Right.
To every building permit in town, to every structure in town. Carol has, and we saw this in one of the recent permits that came through in our folder, has put in some language about the future construction of unapproved bedrooms. I don't know exactly what it said, but basically it says this is what you applied for, this is what you're permitted for. In that any additional finished bedrooms would violate this approval. So she's been putting, or at least I saw one, so I don't know if she's been putting it in or she just started, but I like that language and would encourage her to do that. And then I think the only other thing that comes, do we want to add language as far as specific penalties and fines for adding unapproved bedrooms?
I think before you go doing that, you should talk with an attorney.
Okay,
Make sure we don't run afoul of an RSA.
you probably have to amend your land use plan ordinance, put it in that, so it would become part of the permitting process, right?
That would have to go to town meeting too, right?
That would probably, would that fall into the planning board?
If it's in our land use ordinance, then yes, planning board has to approve it, then it has to go to town meeting. If it's an enforcement tool, then no, but I'm not sure whether that needs to be in the ordinance or not. But like you said, I'd have an attorney not only look at the language, but look at is that something we adopt or is it something the planning board and town adopt?
Why don't people want to build bedrooms?
What's that?
Why don't people want to build bedrooms?
I
Why
don't
they
understand.
want to fake it?
I don't understand your question.
Why are they calling it a library and a
Yeah,
gym
why
instead
do they
of a
want to fake
bedroom?
a bedroom?
Oh, because there's in the engineer's basis of design for the South Peak Resort. It was based on all of those houses, single-family houses having between 1.75 and 4 bedrooms. And then so the planning board has asked us to enforce that limit of 4 bedrooms.
So it's a rule up there or a rule here, the 4 bedroom.
It was
That's
what
what was,
was
was
approved in 2008. And they're asking us to enforce that, because I wasn't aware of this until, and I don't think any of us were aware of this until recently. And they're asking us to enforce this because there are bedrooms, houses up there, like Tammy said, have 8 bedrooms, 10 bedrooms, 12 bedrooms.
11, 10, 12, 12, 10, 8, 7, 7, 8, 7, those are just the ones I looked up now.
Okay, so basically, many of them have more than the 4 bedrooms. My thought is if we go through and say, okay, we're gonna enforce the 4 bedrooms, then we're gonna get offices, gyms, libraries and stuff.
yeah, I
Just,
know what you're saying. I was just, why 4? Why? What's the reason for 4? What's the magic number 4?
that's what the design and approval of South Peak was, and that was the numbers that we used. Well, I shouldn't say we, I wasn't involved.
That
That was
were
numbers
used.
that were used by the town and the engineers in calculating water demand and sewer demand. So you're taking a house, not a house, you're taking many houses that was 4 plus 4 plus 4, and instead it's now 8 plus 10 plus 12, et cetera. So obviously the water and sewer demand are likely to be higher than.
Oh, yeah, it's the same when they do septic. I mean, they do design by bedroom.
Right,
Right,
But to me, I guess I don't get what matters. I mean, these people are paying, what, 20 grand a year in taxes, building $2 million houses. Why not just get more permit or something? I don't know.
and again,
I mean, if it's a rule, it's the rule, so, but I just don't see how you're gonna enforce it. You couldn't even enforce the water meter. Can't enforce nothing in this town very well.
it's difficult, and that's
But
kind of,
you're getting overregulated too, so there you go. And you keep going the way you're going, you're just gonna run everybody out of here that's here. They don't wanna be here. Engineers don't even wanna work here anymore. This is tired of it.
well, we had enough subject, but again, my thought is that if we enforce the 4, we're gonna lose money because we have a bedroom tax, you're well aware of. So every office, gym and library won't be paying that.
Right.
And then when the assessor comes along, instead of it being a 7-bedroom home they're assessing, it's now a 4-bedroom home. Same square footage, same everything, but because it's a 4-bedroom home, then it's gonna have a lower assessed value.
When your assessor goes in there, what do they come back with?
What do you mean, what do they come back with?
Did they come back with like, it's pretty evident the guy's got 7 bedrooms, not 4? Or no, what do they do? What do they put
That's
on?
On the tax cards, it states what their belief of the bedrooms are. Now, some of those are through physical viewing and seeing 7 bedrooms.
most recently was phone calls.
Some of it was phone calls. Some of it is just based on what was on the building permit because they haven't been allowed into the house. Again, people don't have to let the assessors into the house. So we know that some of those ones that say 4 might not be correct.
And it's something that we've been, well, I've been picking up on is when they get listed for sale. And you look at the tax card and it says they're 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but it's got a 8-bedroom, 4-bath for sale. On the same property. That's,
Or their Airbnb listing.
or the
Or
Airbnb
right,
listing, yeah,
doesn't
good
even have to
call.
be for sale.
Yep, good call.
So again, what I was throwing out is let's ignore the 4-bedroom rule and let people stick to the 6,000 square feet. And if they put 6 bedrooms in there and they're all legal, they're all safe, they all have exits, we can assess their house with 6 bedrooms and we can collect bedroom tax for 6 bedrooms
What do you have to do to change that?
to change. what?
Right, there you go, that's an idea. Oh, I don't understand what's going on here, OJ, if I could speak for a minute. You know, you're talking about losing money versus loss of life because someone doesn't know it's a bedroom versus a gym. There are many options that are available to these people that if they want more bedrooms, they can ask for a waiver or a special exception. You, as Billy just said, you can change the ordinances, they could change their master plan. We could change the basis of design. Let's not, what are we doing here? Are we giving, what are we doing here? I mean, it's not up to the town to say, we're gonna ask for all these special exceptions and waivers, and we're gonna change things just for these. When the applicant came in, they came in and said, this is where our master plan is. This is where our basis of design is. It should be up to the applicant or the developer, because the developer is still in charge there, to be able to come back and say, you know what? We would like to come in and have 8 bedrooms instead of 4. Comes to the planning board, we have a public hearing, we do what we need to do. And if it meets the requirements and the town's okay with it, then we do it. But for the town to sit here and say, oh, okay, just let them have this, doesn't make any sense at all. At all. And you know that.
I know that, yeah. I also know that the developer, who is welcome to chime in here if he wants, may not be motivated to come in and press for a relook at his whole master plan on behalf of the people who own lots that he's already sold.
Well, the town has the option to revisit the master plan, ask the developer to revisit it when changes happen. And based on these changes that have happened, I would say the town probably has a pretty good opportunity right now.
So what would happen if a builder come in and said he was looking for a waiver? You'll say it's set in stone, no waivers, or you look at it?
That's up to the planning board.
I don't know the answer to that. Can the planning board waive one lot? Say if I come in with one lot, I want to build 6 bedrooms. Can they give me permission? Or does it have to be the whole development that gets a waiver?
No, it would have to be individual, and I think that it may not have to go to the planning board, probably would have to go to the ZBA. And the ZBA would have to go down through the criteria and see if it would affect all of that, based on the 4 or 5 criteria. So I think that people can come in and ask for it, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they come in and they have to state why it meets the criteria. And I think that's what all of this is all about, is that, you know, if you want an exception.
Send out a notice and ask them to come in, the ones that are there.
Wait, talk to us up here. I know you have questions for him and you want to argue with him, but talk to us.
I don't argue. I'm just saying, why don't you send a notice to the people that are there and say, if you got 7 bedrooms, why don't you come in and get a waiver and call them 7
Because one of the things for that waiver is they have to prove hardship.
for another bedroom?
Yeah,
Well, have your mother-in-law's come, you need a couple, right? Ain't that what they say? I don't.
I need 3 bedrooms. I mean, seriously.
Well, yeah, seriously.
You're sitting on the
What kind of hardship do you
ZBA
need?
and you have someone coming in, building a $2 million house that wants 7 bedrooms. Tell me the argument for their hardship.
ain't
I
gonna-
got 12 kids.
All right. So
I just don't- Why do you need a hardship for that? Why is that? That's
I'm
a
not
hardship.
asking.
No, I didn't say anything about a hardship. One of the
That's one of
questions you should
That's
ask,
one of the
That's
criteria
one
for
of
the
the criteria,
ZBA.
Paul.
Yeah.
You said the criteria.
I said the
It can't
criteria,
be monetary. Right?
but that's right, it can't be monetary. But
Yeah.
ask Ron Beard about the beginning permits that were given at South Peak. If you go back to the beginning permits at South Peak, They were pretty much 4 bedrooms. They were a lot smaller units. And then they all of a sudden started to grow.
Yes.
So there was something that happened between the beginning and it just grew. And it was, I believe, some confusion, if you want to call it that, you know what, we'll we can do this. And it just got away. And that's all it did. And all we need to do is get it back.
Well,
And
some
we
of
need to
the
get it under control.
planners. You've had change of staff since the original site plan approval.
Right, which is where we lost,
Right.
I guess,
That's not an
knowledge.
excuse, though. I mean, that's just bookkeeping. If you can't keep your bookkeeping, then, too bad for you. I mean, everything that on like in 99, and it should be documented somewhere in this building.
Somewhere.
It is, yeah, well, you
Yeah.
can giggle and laugh all you
No,
want.
I
Should be-
didn't-
Somebody should be looking for it. The guy sitting right up there should demand it, that they can see.
Yeah.
I want to know.
I like Carol's language. I think you're on the right path. I think if you could put some administrative fines in, and then if people get turned in, this is almost like the short-term rentals that, how do you enforce it? Well, you wait till someone says something and then they go and enforce it. So maybe this is something like that. And if Carol alerts them when they build it and they go ahead and build it, and then Ron finds out that there's more than what they say there is, as long as the fines meet it, then it's so much per day, even if it's minimal, whatever it is, and it'll add up, and the people will know that, you know what, if I do this, I'm gonna get fined. And this is not the way it's supposed to be, but if we take that on us to do it, we're gonna be the guilty party. And there's some rationale to that, I think. You're being quiet.
I mean, I don't know what to say.
Well,
We're,
it used to be loved thy neighbor, now it's turning me in, huh? Yeah.
I mean, there's some rationale to it. It does work, It allows everything to move forward.
all right, I think our lock jam here is the number of bedrooms. We can go back and ask the planning board if they want to relook at the whole master plan and change that. We can belligerently go forward and just say 4 is 4 is 4, and absolutely that's it. And if you want to come in and claim hardship, go before the ZBA, spend some money and then get turned down. Or we can decide which rules we want to have the staff enforce and which ones we don't.
You mentioned.
Okay, good.
You mentioned changing the master plan. Wouldn't that be the opportunity for the developer to do that? Or his decision or her decision or their decision to do that? I mean,
Again,
why would we come before and ask to change it? I think that it's, the developer's chance to do that along with the, maybe the ARB. As a team, as a partnership coming in, because they're the people that have to live with it.
if they choose to, I think that would be obviously, if they choose to do that, the planning board will take it on.
Okay,
If they choose not to do it, do we just sit around and wait, or do we do something? Because I don't see them coming in and doing anything. I mean, the developer has nothing to gain by doing that.
what do you propose to do?
I propose either enforce the 4-bedroom rule, not instruct our staff to enforce that rule, but look at the square footage and enforce that, or see if the planning board, without application, wants to relook at that 12-year-old approval and make any changes in what can be approved for bedrooms, so long as the square footage is abided by. I mean, I think
Do you
those are
guys
the 3
Work
choices.
with the architectural board, no?
Would you say, do we?
I mean, why can't you just tell the architectural board? You can do 4.5 bedrooms, you can do 6,000 square feet, so bring in, that's what you come in with. Because they look at it before you look at it, right?
Yes.
They
Yes, yes.
So I mean, if they know the rule, They're
I mean,
gonna design it.
again, that's, what you, this is different what you just said 10 minutes ago. You're saying, don't enforce it. Now you're saying we should.
No, I'm saying, I didn't say nothing about enforce, I'm just saying, it's the rule's the rule. I mean, if you tell them what the rules and they don't enforce it, somewhere down the road, they get caught up in it, then they're caught up in it. That's what I'm saying. I didn't say nothing about enforcing nothing.
Well, we can make, the architectural review board has already been made aware of the 4-bedroom limit. Okay? The question is when someone comes in with the next 5-bedroom or more house, what do we instruct our staff to do?
Bedrooms, right?
Okay, which is
What else
different.
can you do? That's what you're saying you're saying your hands are tied.
So before the town
Right.
issues, the land use permit, the architectural review board approves the home with multiple bedrooms, some 6 or 6. And actually, the architectural review board, after I caught one person on Hemlock that was finishing his basement, the architectural review board denied that person's application to get permission to do that. And then the CRBI had sent a letter saying, yes, he can finish his bedroom, and overrode the decision of the ARB. So the town does not issue a land use permit until the ARB approves the submission to them first. So they've approved more than 4 bedrooms. So ask us to approve something that they, at a lesser amount, is gonna be a challenge if the ARB isn't enforcing their own.
Well, it's pretty easy if they design a 5 or 6 bedroom house and they approve it, then you guys got your legs to stand on. Otherwise, you can sit here and beat it forever.
Right,
Because you can't walk in and do anything.
right. So
So
now,
why not just, if they approve it, say, now what are you gonna do? Somebody's gonna have to pay the freight, right?
no, they come back with a 4-bedroom house and an office and a gym.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's,
And we lose the money on the
Right.
bedrooms, we lose the money on the
Right.
tax assessment, and they get what they want. That's,
so what you're saying is for the tax dollar, you just don't meet with.
I'm saying there's pros and cons on both sides of whichever action we take, there's pros and cons. You know? And
That's
Paul is
that's
saying
con with one
4
end,
is-
by the way.
what's that?
I said that's con with one end.
You know? On one hand, you get someone saying 4 is 4 is 4, and that's it. On the other hand, we're saying, well, 4 can become 6 because you call the other 2 offices and gyms. And we're losing out on money, and they're still building what you know, they want, and it's still within the 6,000 square feet. Because that's easily enforced, measured, calculated, et cetera.
OJ, I
Okay.
think that you're getting away from the whole overall picture. It's been a great discussion, but the planning board sent you a letter, asked you to comply with the master plan and the basis of design. I think that if the Board of Selectmen does not listen to the planning board's letter, that the only option the planning board has is to ask for a revocation of recorded approval. I don't think that the town wants to go there, but I think that's the only other option for the planning board. In the best interest of moving forward, I think approving some sort of compromise between both works. I think that the square footage requirement that you stated that's in the master plan is already a done deal. And I think that the 1.75 to 4 bedrooms with Carol's language, and I'm sure she had help doing that, or I hope she did, but it sounded good, that if you're doing this, then you're doing it wrong. And that if, we could change the land use ordinance to give some sort of a fine. And if Ron goes in there and finds that, then we do that. It seems to me to be very simple to be able to move on from this, to do it that way. And then everybody kind of gets what they want. I mean, it truly is. So you go over there and you build a house, You gotta comply with the square footage requirements of the master plan. And if you happen to build a house bigger than 4 bedrooms, it's out of compliance, and if we find out about it, then the town needs to develop some sort of minimal, whatever they develop for a fine for it. So whether it's by the day, by the bedroom, by the whatever. So to me, I mean, and that would at least help if, God forbid, a fire come and Ron's guys have to go in and fight that fire, and there's someone in there in an office instead of a bedroom. You know, it protects the town because the town says, look, we told you can only put those 4 bedrooms in, and you had someone in an office, and that's, it seems to move us on a little bit, I think. Because I don't think the planning board really wants to go with the revocation of recorded approval, but I think that's their next step.
Any other comments? What's the board's pleasure?
There's good arguments on both sides, but I still think we need to enforce the square footage and legitimize all the bedrooms.
Legitimize them as
Yes,
in limiting,
If they've got 5 bedrooms or 8 bedrooms, I want to know that they're 8 bedrooms, and I want to collect fees for them. I don't want to collect fees for 4 bedrooms and then have them have a playroom and a library and a gym and an office. I want to know what's there.
You referenced tonight, Tammy, some 10 bedrooms, 12 bedrooms, 8 bedrooms.
Yep.
And I assume those people applied with a design that showed 10 or 11 or 8 bedrooms.
I would hope so.
I would hope so. I mean, they're on the tax card as that, so I would assume that is. I mean, how can we now not grant or allow somebody that wants to come in, spend the money, and give us a per bedroom tax for 6 bedrooms, 8 bedrooms, or what have you? And if I was the person that wanted to come in, I'd say, wait a minute, you already did it.
right, next door
You
has
denied
it.
me. That's discrimination. I'm Irish, and you know, you discriminate against me.
And I do agree that there are legitimate arguments on both sides.
Yes, I would agree.
Absolutely.
Did you get a legal opinion on any of this yet?
That's what I suggested we do.
Mhm. We didn't know what we needed a legal opinion on because we
Right.
didn't know where we're gonna
Right.
go with the discussion. I would suggest we come up with a proposed direction to give to the staff that includes the building square footage, that includes language regarding an inspection following any complaint or credible evidence by the code enforcer. Language that includes that all life safety rules apply, even though that's everything.
Should be a
We'll put it
given,
in
right.
there. Includes the language that Carol has put in at least one of the most recent permits that talks about additional unapproved bedrooms being built, that's not legal and cannot be done without approval. That includes language, penalties and fines for any additional construction that's unimproved. And then have an attorney look at all of that and make sure it's legal, enforceable. And then we'll look at that and adopt it if we agree to it. If we
Sounds good to
want
me.
if we want to put in language on the 4 bedrooms, we can certainly ask the attorney to put in that language, and then we can vote that yea or nay, just being part of it, if you want.
And the attorney's opinion on doing that, restricting them to the 4 bedrooms, given the fact that there are 10, 11, 12 bedroom houses up there currently under the same rules.
You legally probably don't have authority to go above 4 though, right? Without a change.
Well, that's what I'd like to
That's
ask the
correct.
attorney.
Well, I don't think we do. I don't think we have the authority to change the planning board thing. But we've gone on 12 years now without enforcing it. Do we just not instruct the staff to enforce it? We can get an legal opinion on that.
OJ, could you please read Carol's language? Because you're referring to it. I'm just not quite sure. Because I think in Carol's language, it refers to the 4 bedrooms. So
I don't have it.
Was the,
I thought you had when you read it, I thought earlier.
no, I was paraphrasing it. It was in, there's nothing in the green folder. It was a copy of a building permit from
Yeah, weeks ago, yeah.
weeks ago. It was at least 2 weeks ago. It's
Right.
probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't have it with me.
Oh, I thought you read it. I'm sorry. I thought you read it.
No,
and you said something about the 4 bedrooms.
I paraphrased
Oh, all
it
right.
from memory from at least 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Ron might.
How good's your memory?
Well, no,
He's old. Don't
C
hold him to
minus.
that.
I would suggest that once something is drafted, that it's also sent to the planning board for their comments prior to going to
Sure.
an attorney. See if they want to add anything else in there that they feel that the attorney might look at and, maybe have some dialogue between the two boards if necessary.
Oh, Ron's got it.
This is one of the more recent ones.
Does it have something in there about no unauthorized bedrooms being built in the future?
Not on this one.
No,
How many bedrooms are on that, Ron?
This one's 4 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms.
Library, Jim?
This one was originally 4 bedrooms.
it was.
They what?
Oh,
But there's no language on there talking, okay, I'll have to
See
ask.
it.
Give me that stuff, please.
Oh, that's very good, yeah. Maybe that last paragraph, I'm not sure. What about family room? Whatever.
Yeah, okay, this one is not the one that I'm referring to, but she put the language in there that says areas in the finished basement designated as family room and office are not approved to be used as bedrooms. Which is a start, but it doesn't, it's not as
Right.
direct as the other one that I had seen that says that there are X number of bedrooms and
I don't know which one.
further bedrooms are not approved or cannot be built without further approval, something like that.
The language should be consistent in all of them.
Right, which is why I want to ask her, get them on the list, ask her for her language regarding unapproved bedrooms. All right. So we'll get an attorney's opinion on the 4-bedroom limit, enforcing it now that there are 8 and 10 and 12-bedroom houses existing. Language and opinion on penalties and fines, Carol's language on unapproved bedrooms. A clause about inspections based on complaints or credible evidence, and a clause about all fire and life safety rules. Get the attorney's opinion on that, and when we get it, we'll bring it back. And I think we should look at it before we present anything to the planning board. And that'll be the next step.
Well, do we want to have the planning board have input into those documents so that in case they have other issues that all goes at once to the attorney?
Um,
I'll think about it. I mean, it doesn't have to, the decision doesn't have to. be made.
I guess I get very frustrated when we have a team of 14 people wordsmithing a document. I'd rather we get an attorney's opinion, we look at it, then throw it over the gate to them. If they have problems, we'll go back with specific changes as opposed to, again, wordsmithing each paragraph. I just get frustrated with that. All right, let's move on. I'm gonna skip over the goals for now.
Okay.
Let's go on to the town manager's report.
He already said, all he has is for us is in non-public.
Oh,
All I got for you, OJ, is a personnel, non-public.
okay. All right, I'm just gonna report on a couple of things. The Herodine driveway issue. I guess the school board did not vote on that. They're waiting for a more specific outline of where the driveway is gonna be.
The school board discussed it and all of the members agreed that the school board plans to give her the easement. They want the town to issue her the driveway permit prior to them granting the easement, so they have the exact dimensions, measurement, and placement of that driveway. I
Yeah,
have
and
a
enough,
huge problem with that. We cannot issue her another driveway until she divides that property. Because she has one.
We can issue her a statement that says, this is the driveway location and design that we will approve after A, getting an easement from the school board, B, subdividing the lot.
Perfect, I'm good with that.
All right, I just want to get this off of our agenda. This is now
yeah, and
12 months of,
I know.
and town attorney is good with all what Tammy said. Our town attorney is
okay.
on board with it, so that's all you gotta do. Get,
So can we
Then-
get those measurements and exact parameters from Nate to put down?
Does she, okay. Let's,
I'll give Nate that message tomorrow.
and again, typically it's not him who designs the driveway, but I know that he has it wants it in a certain
A certain
location,
spot.
angle,
Right.
spot for plowing.
He did have that down once, but it was not with the exact measurements that that the school wants to put, the school's attorney wants to put in the easement.
Yeah, he wants exact coordinates.
Right,
The key is that she subdivides so that we don't suddenly have two driveways to a single lot.
Right,
correct.
we can make it contingent
Yes,
on the subdivision. In other words, we'll
correct.
approve it, but it's only applicable after the subdivision goes through. When
Correct,
subdivision is applied for, because we have to grant it.
Right.
correct.
All right, then you'll get in touch with Nate for that?
Tomorrow I'll give him he'll spot it and get it to whoever. Yeah.
All right.
Let
Not,
me get it
not,
to Jane and Jane can get it up to the
not
SAU.
to delay this or string this out anymore because it's been way too long already. Effective September 21st, 2021, which is about a week ago. RSA 674:39 is amended to repeal the deadline for requests for restoration of lots that were involuntarily merged. Period. So she doesn't have to do this by December, but
Oh, cool.
it would be in everyone's best interest if we got this done
Right.
and off. So anyway. There is a request for qualifications for the police fire station project.
That went out last week, I guess it did not.
Well, we didn't because there's dates that were,
I know, but we approved it prior to those dates. And I thought it was going out last Friday to come in for next Friday.
So I asked DC Burnham about that,
Mhm.
and he said, oh, I thought you were doing it, Jane. I have no idea what they're doing on the committee, because I would have. So I said, all right, so that, I retyped it, with Jason Dennis's edits, and it was the date, and clearly we're gonna have to.
right,
give it A week or two. And then if I'm doing it, who do you want me to send that to? I mean, it's a large document for a newspaper.
Right.
So what Ray Corbett typically would do is, summarize
Right.
that in, for a newspaper form, and then this,
Is what do they request this?
yeah. So I don't know if you all discussed that.
First, of all, let's look at the dates.
So I was
got
just
mine.
looking at-
We
It's
welcome,
typically 2 weeks.
we welcome questions on or before. I would say it should be 2 weeks from Friday,
October 1st to October 15th.
so October 15th. And then submittals should be at least a week after the deadline for questions.
So 2 weeks.
I'm good with 2 weeks. People are busy. And if they don't even have time to look at this or respond to it, we're not gonna get,
So October 1st is 2 weeks prior to October 15th.
no,
No,
October
after.
15th is the, on the back page,
The 29th.
the question, we welcome questions up until October 15th. That gives them, I
Oh,
mean,
gotcha.
people aren't gonna see this until October 1st.
So why is this one, why is the original date?
I don't know,
Yeah.
September 24th, and then
Yeah,
they had 1 week to ask questions and find out about it, and 1 week to put in a written submittal. It's too tight,
No, it's too tight.
way too tight.
So
So if we give them till October 15th to inquire, and then 2 weeks, which would be
October
October 29th,
October 29th, yeah.
to respond.
okay.
All right, now, we do need to put together a short blurb of what we're looking for to put in the newspaper. I assume that's gonna go in the Union Leader and the Courier, and then list this with, on the municipal websites where all these municipal
Right.
projects.
The first sentence, the invitation, that basically says it all.
Right,
Right, except for saying later in this document, it'll say to the, give a link or some way to find out what that document
Yeah.
is. All right, do we-
Town website.
are you good?
Yeah, I am, but who is gonna answer? And I know often from other RFQs I've done for projects, we've had, even if this is available, they have more questions. Is it the town manager? Like I would direct them to Ray Corbett, because he usually would handle. This is a big project, and they get more specific.
has Ray been involved in this?
No, he hasn't been to any of the meetings or included in any of that.
Yeah,
Well, it
so,
says
Maybe we should.
questions should be
bring
addressed
him
in
into
writing to
the
the town manager.
yeah, but
Well, that was how it was written out.
he's,
but I don't-
he's gonna be done and then have a new guy coming on before
Right.
Right.
the questions are even due.
I'm gonna suggest that the committee bring Ray in
Ray in
and take it from
because,
here.
yeah, the
and take
time
it from
is
here. Yeah.
short.
Mhm.
Okay,
And I think,
I'll come in tomorrow and we can go home together.
You gonna call Ray?
Yeah.
is
Okay.
he coming Wednesday for the technical review?
Wednesday, yeah,
He's gonna be
He'll
here
be here
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Tammy.
What time
Are
is
you
he
okay?
here?
10 a.m.
10,
Let me see.
and I'll remind you if you're available.
Oh, I could do that. Let me put it in.
Do you wanna see if he can come like 15 minutes earlier and meet with you?
Yes,
Yes, then I will email him.
you will? Okay,
Oh,
then
yeah.
I will. All right,
First thing tomorrow before I leave tonight.
okay, perfect.
All right, and then the only
Thank
other thing I had is I spoke with the Chamber of Commerce. They're gonna move forward with contacting Nate about hanging the banners, and they are gonna leave up an unspecified number of the old banners relating to COVID safety. And I said, whatever that number is.
Yeah.
They're gonna use their judgment. I said, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have anything?
I did, a couple of things. I just want to mention homecoming last weekend was awesome. First one since COVID, so it was a great turnout. And skate park. East Branch Builders donated $10,000 to the skate park, which brings our total up to $97,000. So I'm very excited to hear about the fall round of brownfield grants, and fingers crossed we can, once we get that done, they've got 100% of the money that they need and then some for the skate park, so it's good and it's exciting, and there's so many kids skateboarding in town now. It's incredible. Yeah, it's very cool.
Excellent news.
You might have noticed a couple of broken wrists. I know I did.
Yeah, I've had a couple of them
Oh,
in
yeah.
my house.
That's how I broke my wrist on a skateboard.
Oh, Jen,
Yeah.
just an update. I did speak with the individual that contacted me about the Bob Markowitz.
Yep,
And they said that they would do the history and come up with some wording for us.
awesome.
Fantastic.
That'd be good.
I know, I just looked something up online that was interesting that I didn't even know, so that's cool.
One other update from the state legislature. Effective August 3rd of this year, so last month. The RSAs, the relative RSAs, and there's a number of them, were amended to allow out-of-state banks with a branch in New Hampshire to accept deposits and investments of public funds from the state treasurer and the city, town, and school district treasurers.
Oh, cool.
There was a question as to using local banks that were actually incorporated out of state.
Yep.
This clears that up to specifically say it's okay.
Oh, that's good to know.
It's like Union Bank.
Like Union Charter, which is a
Right.
Vermont bank, but right across the street.
What was the bank in Peterborough that they were using? Do we know?
Mhm.
We don't
We're not using,
want to do it.
So. All right.
although at this point, I bet that's probably one of the safest ones now.
All right, public participation?
You guys meeting next week?
I believe so.
Yes.
We're
Yeah,
scheduled to.
yeah.
Can you have, I'd like to request what you've paid lawyers and engineers this past year, January of now. I think you could have it next week.
Do you want it lump sum or do you want it broke down into specific legal
I
cases?
want to know what was billed like through the planning board, through the town,
For engineering?
and lawyer fees.
Engineering and legal.
I think, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman, you could go into the finance officer and get that broken down under the freedom,
Well-
the right to know act.
We're supposed to go this route, I think. Aren't you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Either way,
This-
we'll
this
get it
is-
for
this
you.
is-
We'll get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a fine way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paul?
Yeah, just for your information, the CIP committee has met with all the different departments and we're having our final meeting probably tomorrow. I don't know where you are in your budget schedule, but we should be presenting something to the planning board within the next couple of weeks for their approval.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Chairman of that's doing a good job.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, if there's nothing else, then we have a personnel issue to talk about in non-public. I don't think there's any legal issue updates unless I'm not aware of something. All right, I'll make a motion into non-public to get an update on personnel issue.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank
Good
you
night.
for coming.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you.